check this out. So the previous owner told me that there was a like a house outlet, like a 110, 125 house cord somewhere in here that ran, and she had told me it ran some lights up here. And I saw it sticking in the engine bay going straight to ground, and then I'm assuming a hot wire here. And I'm not an electrician, I planned on getting rid of that, getting rid of those lights altogether. Because I don't know if those cords, I mean, I guess wire is wire. It all carries current anyways, but basically it comes down here. I found it underneath here. It doesn't go to the switch, which I was assuming was those lights. It goes through here, runs all the way back here, goes under the back carpet, and then as soon as I saw it continue to keep going, I had a feeling, uh-oh, and it goes right down into there, which this is for your fuel pump. And I did notice some hot pink wires on the fuel pump when I was checking it out. They looked a little aftermarket to me. So that means somebody is running, it looks like the power for the fuel pump, they've got it to ignition and ground through a 110 extension cord, house outlet type cord running back to the battery. So you gotta hand it to him for the redneck ingenuity. That is very nice. Methany is doing a good job here, but I'll get rid of that. I'll take that out, and I'll get back into the factory wiring harness behind the carpet. I gotta pull this out anyway, since somebody, I don't know if I said this yet, but unfortunately somebody just ran a razor blade in the trunk area and cut it up. So I'll take this all out. I'm getting all the carpet out now, and I'll figure out what's going on with this and then rewire it correctly so it's not doing that anymore. The saga continues. I was just cruising through this thing. I always like looking through these older cars and just seeing what people left behind, or what they did, really more figuring out the puzzle of what kind of cherry rigging they did. I got some more electrical tape, free tape, which is awesome. I like that. Some bulbs in here, some Pioneer badges. Let me focus it since I gotta do that manually. Some Pioneer badges, that's cool. Concerning thing I found in here, I don't know what's up with that, is This looks like the O-ring that comes when you replace the fuel pump and the sending unit at the tank. This looks exactly like a brand new one. It's the right size. So I'm assuming when someone was in there wiring up the house outlet to the fuel pump, they were probably changing and replacing the fuel pump. And that's why they had to maybe do some custom wiring back there. And I just don't think they replaced that, that ring. So when I filled this thing up at the tank or at the gas station, I assume it might leak when it's full. Not a big deal, just kind of a pain in the butt because I have to fill it up past that area, that hole where the fuel pump goes in, to find out if it's leaking. And then if it is leaking, I gotta siphon it all out below it so I can take it off and replace that ring. But it's good to know that I have it. Okay, I figured out what this whole 110 house outlet cord is all about. I noticed this earlier, the ballast, fuel pump ballast resistor. It was completely broken in half and the wires are dangling down over here, not connected. So I was wondering how the heck this Jeep ran, because you won't get power to your fuel pump if you don't have this connected. You can run a jumper wire if you break this thing, but if you just leave them disconnected, you will not have power to that ballast resistor to the fuel pump. So I think that's why somebody hot wired it, because they left everything else in, well, they left the sending wire to the gauge in place, but the pink wire, and the ground, the black one, they just wired that straight through into the dash. So they probably broke that ballast resistor or something happened with it and they stopped getting power to the fuel pump, couldn't figure out why, so they just decided to hot wire it, and that's what that's all about. And I did check it with the key. You don't get power to this pink wire when the key is on for more than a second with that ballast resistor disconnected the way it is now. But when you run a jumper wire in between them, then you do get power like you should. So I'll get rid of this guy and then just rewire it back up the factory way. Moving on to the radiator leak, I have traced the leak down to, oh no, right here, and it's actively leaking. I just sprayed it down with a bunch of brake clean. I was planning to put JB Weld around this fitting since it's leaking from the bottom, and I'll have to look at it closer. I thought it was beneath it, but apparently not. Obviously I can't JB Weld the fitting where it goes into the radiator, not right here. I was gonna put JB Weld here where the fitting is supposed to be soldered or welded to the actual radiator. So I'm gonna have to look into that and get it beneath the water line before I can JB Weld it. Huh. Great. Fantastic. That should be enough, right? That hose was very loose. Bunch of fluid on the ground, but I'm pretty sure we should be beneath the level of this fitting. So let's clean this mess up and figure that out. Let's give this stuff a whirl. You can see there's no more drips from underneath this fitting. So we're gonna keep it just at the base of the fitting. We're really not looking to get any of the threads crossed up for any of the fittings that go in there. We're just trying to put it all in the cracks. There's quite a few of them. Jeez. Q-tip maybe wasn't the best choice. I thought a Q-tip would have been perfect. But it's like pulling out. So. Okay. We're switching to the finger. Yeah, the finger never fails. Man. Alright, well, we'll see if that does it. So I'm not going to film the entire process of prepping this car for paint, since I've done it a lot and it's boring. But I will show you the hood. I'm using this little paint stripping wheel from Home Depot. It was $10. They do sell them online for cheaper, and Harbor Freight probably has them as well. But it's the best thing that I got. The paint stripper didn't do anything on this hood, and the hood had a bunch of cracked clear coat on it, so I've got to get it all down to bare metal. I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it. You're just kind of letting the angle grinder do most of the work.
This half of the hood took about 20 minutes last night, so that gives you an idea of how long it takes. It's just really boring, so that's it. I'll finish the rest of the hood and keep prepping the rest of the car. The Jeep has been fully taped up, masked off, sanded down. We're making our TSP solution so that we can wash this thing off and get all the grease and dust and everything off of it. That'll be the last step before we hit the booth. Now, a couple days have passed. The Jeep turned out really nice. The color, it's so vibrant. It is maybe a little more teal or greenish than the last one I did on that K5, but the paint turned out great, and it's probably hard to tell in camera, but it really does. There's almost like a spectrum. It almost turns from blue to greenish. So that turned out really nice. We're just working on the interior, getting the seats back in, having to put the carpeting, because I'm gonna do the heater core on it. Got some of the roof back together. Hatch came out really nicely. We had to do a paint match on this panel. Man, it's real hard to tell, but that panel came out matching the sides really well. It was like a nutmeg color from Home Depot in satin. Okay, we're kind of bouncing all over the place like usual. I'm putting the carpet back in, but the whole dash, lower valence, everything's put in there. The fuel pump is no longer jumpered in with an electrical cord. I reconnected the wires. They tapped into some stuff here. I haven't connected up the heater core lines yet. I'll do it at some point in a second. Why am I not doing that yet? I don't know. I don't quite know. I guess I was doing the fuel pump and I didn't want to put the bottle back in because the wires were right under there and it was in the way. And then I just started tossing the carpet in since I kind of like doing that stuff. So we will keep at this. I can't put the rest of the bezel back on because I got to put a radio in. So it's just a bunch of projects and I'm doing them in the order that makes sense. So we'll keep tossing this in and check back into. Underside has been seam sealed. The carpet's back in. The front seats are back in. That all looks pretty good. Still got to get the back seats recovered. And otherwise, it's looking pretty good. But today, I'm going to work on putting in the radio. It's just a cheap one off of Amazon. And then I think I did fully attach the heater core stuff over here so then I can fill it up and properly bleed this system. The radio, it's all hooked up. The wires are zip tied and tucked back. So that's pretty much it for the radio. I am going to mount, I'm going to disconnect the battery, disconnect it. I will mount its little tray and put the bezel back in there, and then I'll probably work on swapping out this ignition cylinder for another one that I got out of an 84 K5 Blazer that I think might work. I don't feel like waiting around for the new one to show up. So I'll try and see if a square body Chevy of the same era will swap in. One last thing on the radio. Here's the bezel set in place. These Cherokees, the singled in is pretty much perfect. You just have to file off on the two sides and then the bottom area to fit this din. And then these little tabs, you just fold them over on the back side. If you can see that, they're folded over to hold it so that it doesn't fall out. And then this is what your radio will slide into once you put it back in the Jeep. This one, I just wrapped up, I put the E-fan on a switch because it wasn't kicking on when I turn on the air conditioning. It's supposed to kick on the fan then, and if it gets over, I think 215 or 220, the E-fan's supposed to come on. I broke the cooling system, heater core is not leaking, it's not overheating. It didn't really get that hot at all when I drove it around on the test drive yesterday. I should have taken you guys with me, but I didn't. But I prefer to have them on a switch for these Jeeps. I don't know, lets me turn it on and off, and I've just got it in the on position for pretty much all of summer, especially with this older closed cooling system on these Rain-X Jeeps. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. This one's kind of done. There's not much else for me to do here. It ran and drove great. Didn't have any death wobble. Wasn't overheating. So it's pretty much done. And I wanted to make sure I let you guys know what was happening to it and gave you some sort of an ending to this particular project. But it's kind of cool. I'll do one last walk around before it takes off here. But I like putting these old Jeeps back on the road. Now it looks great. It's got new paint. So it looks kind of cool. The Pioneer model's neat. You don't always see those. Hopefully somebody enjoys it, takes good care of it. And the back seat still has to be reupholstered and go in, but other than that, it's pretty much good in here. Radio works. Not a whole lot to see here. But that's it. Another one has been saved, so I'll see you guys on the next one.